Earlier this week, I told you about two beautiful young women, Candy Miller and Amber Nicole Thurman, vibrant young moms from Georgia who died preventable deaths, all because their state has one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the country. Candy Miller was left to die alone at home because she was too afraid to seek medical treatment as she suffered through a self-managed abortion. Amber Nicole Thurman went to a hospital, but she was dismissed for 20 hours as she lay in excruciating pain because medical professionals were too afraid to help. Last night, Amber's mom had this message for thousands of Americans.
I want y'all to know Amber was not a statistic. She was loved by a family, a strong family. And we would have done whatever to get my baby, our baby, the help that she needed.
Vice President Kamala Harris met with the family of Amber Nicole Thurman in Michigan on Thursday when they appeared at the Unite America town hall hosted by Oprah Winfrey. Today, Harris honored the lives of Amber and others, but she also laid their deaths squarely at the doorstep of Donald Trump and the 6 conservative Republicans on the Supreme Court who helped expedite it.
Amber's mother, Shanette, told me that the word preventable is over and over again in her head when she learned about how her child died. This is a healthcare crisis. This is a healthcare crisis, and Donald Trump is the architect of this crisis. He brags about overturning Roe v. Wade. In his own words, quote, "I did it and I'm proud to have done it," he says. He is proud that women are dying, proud that doctors and nurses could be thrown in prison for administering care, proud that young women today have fewer rights than their mothers and grandmothers. How dare he?
Harris also took the time to give voice to the millions of American women who are navigating the same lonely, persecuted path. One of those women was Caitlin Joshua, who lives in Louisiana, which happens to have a near total abortion ban. Doctors refused to see her before 12 weeks because, according to an official, too many women miscarry in that period, and they didn't want to be held liable. It was then that she started having problems. While at the hospital, she realized she was miscarrying, but the hospital staff left her in the dark about what was happening and gave her no options. She went home, but when the pain and bleeding became so severe, she went to another hospital, but was also refused care because they didn't want to be investigated for facilitating an abortion. Caitlin and her husband were left demoralized and angry by the experience. She had to mourn the loss, but thankfully she survived, but with little faith in the modern American medical system, courtesy of Donald Trump. Caitlin Joshua joins me now. She is traveling the country on behalf of the Harris Walz campaign. Caitlin, thank you so much for being here. I recall your speech at the DNC and then rereading your story. It was horrifying all over again. And I just want you to just voice for people who don't understand, how it feels to be a woman pregnant. You know you're pregnant. You're about 8 weeks pregnant. You go to a clinic and they say, we don't even want to see you because of this state's abortion ban.
Yes, and thank you again for having me tonight. And the best way I can put it into words is it is extremely demoralizing. It's very difficult to accept the fact that we live in a post-Roe society that is putting up barriers for women to seek basic maternal health care, much less abortion care. In that moment, when my husband and I found ourselves in a healthcare crisis and I'm trying to navigate this system, I don't have a medical background. I'm seeking help from a physician because I know they have the expertise and training to be able to handle my miscarriage. And in that moment, I saw, and still I'm hearing about these stories coming out of the Deep South today, as we've heard these recent stories of 2 women who lost their lives as a result of Trump's Trump's abortion ban that is existing in 22 states. And so we know that if we don't do the work this fall to be able to vote on reproductive freedom, we will see this ban take effect all over this country. And this is just a stark reality of what can happen. My story, Amber's story, the other young lady's story, this is very much indicative of what can potentially happen in our country if we allow it.
And I will say that, you are so lucky to be alive because Black women already suffer disproportionately death during childbirth and during pregnancy. So you are very, very lucky, particularly in a state like Louisiana that has fewer and fewer OBGYNs. Doctors are leaving that state. The state's abortion ban is so strict, it's even hard to find a hospital. Do you see the impact just among your friends, people you know, of just not being able to even find a doctor who even will work in the state of Louisiana at this point?
Yes, I think that is the most disappointing and uninspiring part of this story, right? The story continues. We may have seen overturn of Roe v. Wade 2 years ago, and then, of course, my state's trigger ban immediately came into effect. But the women that look like me are being disproportionately affected by these laws, these very egregious laws. And when you take a state like Louisiana and across all 64 parishes, we already have maternity care deserts. When you add that layered issue with an abortion ban on top of Black maternal health care statistics already being so starkly alarming in our state, you're talking about a healthcare crisis that is unimaginable, that no one should have to face. And so I worry for my girlfriends who are currently pregnant, who contact me all the time and ask for, different ways to navigate the system or advice on this or that. And my heart goes out to them. And there isn't much for me to be able to provide them outside of, kind of what to look for, how to, get ahead of your healthcare. But why should we have to do that as pregnant people that are just seeking care that is something that every single woman in this country deserves to be able to have at their disposal?
Yeah. And, I wonder, and this is the thing I always wonder about, whether folks are identifying where to place the blame. Right? I mean, we saw Georgia pass a 6-week abortion ban or a 6-week abortion ban, a trigger ban went into law there. There was no punishment for Brian Kemp or the Republican legislators who did that. They got easily reelected. And people even praised Brian Kemp for standing up to Donald Trump on occasion. In your state, voter turnout, I say this all the time, was 23% when Landry got elected governor, knowing that he was a fierce opponent of a woman having control of her own body.